Meeting of the Colerain Township Zoning Commission will come to order. Could we all, first of all, please everybody silence your cell phone. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Westfield?
Westfall, here.
Westfall, excuse me. Miss Smith? Here. Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Tchaikovsky? Mr. Lauf?
Here. Mr. Tchaikovsky did not answer the roll call. Mr. Farron, would you please take a seat up here? Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the meeting of Tuesday, July 21st. Does anybody have any additions or corrections? No? Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes of the Tuesday, July 21st meeting. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next on the agenda is public address. That's where anyone who would like to address the zoning commission on anything other than what's on the agenda. This is where you do it. Would anybody like to address us now? Mr. Acton? This means that you can't address us for the other.
No, I'm not talking about the other.
Okay.
I guess that's what these people here are for.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Westphal. I'm here about a serious situation that's developing in the township, and I figured I'd start here since zoning and would have a lot to do with it. But according to the outline here, the zoning, planning, and building department, we work to achieve the vision of the comprehensive plan laid out for the future of Colerain Township by administrating and enforcing the zoning regulations and enforcing our township property maintenance and nuisance law. We work every day to make Colerain Township a better place to live, work, and to play. We are here to create a valued place for our residents and commercial people to be here. What I'm here to speak about this evening, and I have a prop that I would like to show. This is a 55-gallon drum bag. Last Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, myself and people from the Purple Heart Society, or chapter I should say, and our grandsons spent the day up in the corner pulling weeds, picking up trash, and we filled 3 of these. I was so upset that I almost brought them back and emptied them in the rotunda out here. But I thought, when doing good, they'd look at it, have one of the firemen or the maintenance people come pick it up.
Excuse me, you said the corner. Which corner?
The gateway. The thing that we built to say, we are Colerain. Here we are. It looked like a cow pasture before Memorial Day. Since then, I think it's been mowed 3 times from what I can understand. And there's not enough time to go around and pull weeds, pick up things. We also sprayed Roundup and Weed Be Gone up there in the weeds. Most of them are starting to disappear. But Section 102-1. The provision of this clause shall apply to all matters affecting and relating to the structure and premises set forth in section 101, where it is specified case. These sections of the code shall differ requirements, and most restrictions shall govern. The intent is the code shall be constructed to secure and express in turn, which is to ensure public health, which I can tell you, public health is nil up there until last week. I don't know how many of you have walked the parks lately. I spent 2 hours up in Colerain Park this week. Honestly, I don't know how people take their dogs up there anymore. And the welfare, insofar as they are affected by the continuous occupancy and maintenance of structures and premises. Somewhere the zoning board has to stress upon our trustees, get off your seats and go out and look some of these places. And instead of buying copiers and painting this and painting that and doing this and doing that, spend some money where it needs to beautify Colerain and to keep it the way it's been in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address us? Okay, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is a final development plan. We do not have a final development plan tonight. Next is a public hearing on case number ZA 201503 White Oak Garden Center. When we have a public hearing, the way it works is the zoning staff will make a presentation of the request. The applicant may also make a presentation of the request. The meeting is then open for public comment. Comment is 3 to 5 minutes, no redundancy. Then closed for public input. This is followed by discussion among the commission members. The zoning commission will have a motion to approve or deny the request. The commission will then have a roll call vote, and the decision will be sent to the Board of Trustees. We're now going to hear case number ZA 2015-03 White Oak Garden Center, 3579 Blue Rock Road, Cincinnati. It's a request for zoning change and a preliminary development plan for expansion of White Oak Garden Center. The addresses it affects is 3622 Hermes Drive, 3628 Hermes Drive, 3621 Hanley Road, 3589 Blue Rock Road, 3567 Blue Rock Road. Staff, do you have a presentation?
We do.
Just make it for you.
We do. Good evening, commissioners. We do have a lengthy presentation on this particular project, just due to the complexity of the site and the site plan. So if you'll bear with me, I'll go through what our recommendations are on this project and some of the findings that came from Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission's report on it as well. This project is request for a zone change from several parcels within the R5 Suburban Residential District and the B1 Neighborhood Business District to the PDB Planned Development District. A portion of this site was, the zone was changed from an E retail business to the EE planned retail business back in 1985, and that's the portion of the site there at the middle on which the garden center currently sits. Along with this zone change request, the applicant is proposing a preliminary development plan for the site to allow for the expansion of the existing garden center business operation. I'll go through just a quick overview of what's being proposed on the site. The site plan includes relocating the current, some of the current greenhouses that sit toward Blue Rock Road back to the back portion of the site where they will continue to serve as non-commercial greenhouses, so storage type greenhouses. And there will be an additional storage structure in this area as well. with the addition of new greenhouses on the site where the former greenhouses exist. And then also the residential structure toward the back of the existing site will be converted into a landscape design center and an office with a display garden area to the rear of the structure. There's a proposal for Hermes Drive to be paved and parking provided along that drive for employees and visitors to the design center portion of the site, and also access at the Blue Rock Road intersection with Hermes would be limited to a right-in, right-out access. There's a proposed lean-to structure that would provide screening of the existing loading area and multi-pile area there to the back corner of the site near Hanley Road, and additional landscaping, as you can see, proposed along Hanley Road on the street frontage. Staff reviewed this proposal for conformance with the comprehensive plan. This site is located in the comprehensive plan character area of White Oak, which is described as an older, viable neighborhood where a mixture of residential housing types and small-scale commercial services should be maintained. This area says that White Oak can be a model for reinvestment in businesses that adaptively reuse older properties. So from this perspective, the garden center is considered an adaptive reuse for an older property in this area. In addition, the comprehensive plan identifies the site, the area to the rear of the site there where there is the current residential structure as residential. So that particular portion doesn't quite conform to the comprehensive plan, but there is a mention that the intersection of Cheviot and Blue Rock would be an appropriate area for neighborhood scale commercial activity, which would be what this would be classified as. The land use guidelines go on to talk about limiting those uses to areas of no more than 4,000 square feet. And although the garden center building would meet that requirement, the larger greenhouses to the side of it would not. But those could be considered an accessory structure to the existing garden center use as a commercial use. The land use guidelines in the White Oak character area also call for adequate landscaping and buffering between any residential and non-residential uses. And I'll talk about these a little bit more specifically as we go through the zoning conformance factors. We also reviewed the land use map, land use plan, and took a look at what the future land use recommendations were as a part of that plan. The eastern portion of the site and the majority of the site is shown as retail, neighborhood retail, which is in conformance to what this proposal would be. This is characterized as a typically one-story structure with the scale, mass, and intensity compatible with site constraints. And the existing and proposed garden center is consistent with that use. The southwest portion of the site is shown as single-family residence, so that portion of the site doesn't conform to the land use plan. And there's a picture there on this slide of that existing residential property that's being proposed to serve as an office and landscape design center.
Could we go back one slide and just point
Sure.
which that is
On the plan. Let's see. The structure there in the orange. If you see the inside of the blue boundary, the structure in the orange there to the southwest portion of the site is the picture of the house. Yeah. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, looking at the zoning resolution and how the proposed development plan meets the zoning resolution. And what staff found was that the site does conform to the zoning resolution with the exception of the following areas that I'll go through each one by one. With regard to the common open space, The proposed development plan would likely meet the requirements for open space for this category, which would be 15% common open space. However, the plan does not show specifically what areas would be serving as open space. So we would like to see that shown clearly on the plans. With regard to the number of parking spaces, the zoning resolution states that there should be 4 spaces for every 1,000 square feet of indoor sales area, plus 1 space per 1,000 square feet of greenhouses. This results in a minimum of 69 required spaces. The applicant is allowed to exceed that by 10% as of right, which would result in 76 spaces. The proposed plan is showing 83 parking spaces, which exceeds that as of right additional amount. The zoning resolution allows for an additional 10% if the plan proposes 20% landscape coverage throughout the parking lot, and this plan does not meet that requirement. So staff is recommending that the applicant comply with either the 20% landscape requirement within the parking areas to bump that parking up to the 83 spaces, or that they reduce the parking down to 76 spaces. The zoning resolution states that no driveway or parking area for 5 vehicles or more should be closer than 50 feet to the right-of-way of an intersection of public streets or signalized intersections. As you know, due to the location of this site being very tight and within kind of the crux of a couple of different intersections, that the existing driveways onto the site do not meet those standards. The existing driveway on Blue Rock Road is approximately 40 feet from the intersection of Blue Rock and Hanley. And then Hermes Drive and Blue Rock intersection is about 20 feet from the Blue Rock and Cheviot intersection. So this plan does not meet that requirements, but given the limitations of the site and the existence of those driveways as they occur, we're recommending to allow for those to continue as they exist. Section 13.4.1 and section 14.5.1 address streetscape buffer yards and parking area, landscaping along the sides of the street frontages. I'm going to go through the 2 different street frontages here and discuss how the plan addresses the zoning resolution. On the Blue Rock Road streetscape side, what would be required on this side would be a 15 feet buffer yard from the parking lot, and also a requirement of either 1 canopy tree per every 35 linear feet of street frontage, or ornamental trees and a combination of landscape area and streetscape buffer. Due to the right-of-way that's being dedicated on the Blue Rock Road side, and not being able to allow for that 15-foot street buffer, staff feels that it would be okay to grant a variance of a 0-foot streetscape buffer along that frontage. Sure.
0 foot. That's what it would look like if I measured from the right of way, not from the existing street, correct?
Correct.
I mean, there is space there.
There is space there.
But the point is, if the ODOT or whoever came along, they could move
Correct.
Blue Rock Road up to 0 feet.
Correct.
But at the moment, that's not what I see.
Correct. And then you can see the picture here. There is landscaping in that area on the corners, but all of that is basically in the right of way. Yeah. On the Hanley Road side, the proposed site plan shows a lean-to structure and 2 parking spaces up there in the corner by the Hanley Road and Blue Rock intersection. that are within the right-of-way. Due to having the space on this side, we're recommending that a variance not be allowed on this particular side because it seems that that lean-to structure could be pushed back a little bit or additional landscaping could be provided. And given that there is excess parking proposed on the site, staff didn't feel that it was necessary to have those parking spaces come so close to the intersection and into that buffer yard.
Could you indicate those two parking spaces?
Let's see, I don't have a pointer. On the little section here, it would be the last two parking spaces closest to Hanley Road in the corner at the intersection.
Down in the lower right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's a picture of the entry drive there just to the right of the proposed lean-to structure on the plan, looking back toward where the lean-to structure would be put on the site. Okay. Section 14.5.2 also calls for lot buffer yards where there is a PDB site that abuts an R5 district. And that situation does happen on the west side of the site there, just behind that lean-to structure area and where the current mulch piles exist on the site today. Given that it is such a tight site in this area, staff felt like some leniency could be appropriate in this case and to allow that what would normally be a 30-foot buffer yard to be pulled back to a 10-foot buffer yard. But we would still like to see the proposal accommodate for the required buffer yard landscaping, so evergreen trees within that area to help shield that service area from the residents on the
And this would be between the back of the garden center and the first house on Hanley?
Correct. Correct.
And what have I got now in terms of buffers?
This is the mulch pile area. So you can see
About 10 feet.
that's about what you've got, yeah. So in order to allow for the 30-foot buffer yard per the zoning resolution, all of that current service area and mulch pile area would have to come out and be moved. And again, this is, I'm sure you're all familiar with the site, but it's a very tight site and there are some topography issues to deal with as well that make the site technically challenging in terms of redevelopment. So I'll just go through again some of the conditions that I talked through as a part of the zoning resolution, meeting those requirements. The recommendation would be for an approval of the zone change request and a preliminary development plan with the following conditions. So submitting a plan that does demonstrate the 15% open space requirement that's set forth in the zoning resolution. And also either pulling back the number of parking spaces to what would be allowed as 76 without the 20% landscape within the parking areas, or to increase the landscaping within the parking areas to 20% to allow for the 83 that are shown on the site plan. Hermes Drive is to be paved, and this was one of the conditions that we brought forward from Hamilton County staff's recommendations. They wanted to see that road improved, and that my understanding is that the site plan does call for that, so that's in keeping with what's being proposed.
Hermes Drive is private.
Correct. Any proposed parking areas within a 15-foot streetscape buffer yard along Hanley Road must be removed, or a revocable agreement letter must be provided by Hamilton County Engineers Office. I did receive an email forwarding from Eric Beck at the Hamilton County Engineer's Office, alluding to the fact that a revocable agreement would be acceptable to them. So having that formalized. The proposed lean-to structure should not be located within that streetscape buffer yard, and the buffer yard and landscaping along Hanley Road should meet the zoning requirements. The applicant must provide the landscape plantings or equivalent off-site buffer landscaping along that northern half of the western property boundary, so that between the property where the mulch pile exists and that first residential property there on Hanley. And the applicant must satisfy any requirements of the Hamilton County engineers. The previous letter that we received from Hamilton County engineers on their review of the preliminary development plan alluded to the need for right-of-way, specific right-of-way dedications and a traffic impact analysis report. So we just want to make sure that the applicant does meet whatever requirements the Hamilton County engineer has. And then the variances that were discussed earlier in the staff report, providing where the intersections do not meet the intersection setback requirements, so allowing that intersection of Blue Rock and Hanley to exist, and then a zero streetscape buffer yard on Blue Rock Road, where the streetscape buffer of 15 would normally be required. And then permitting a 10-foot buffer yard between the residential property and the commercial site on near the Hanley Road property. So allowing that to go from 30 down to 10. On your chair area, you have some new information that was not sent out in the packets. That would be the meeting minutes from the Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission's meeting. The conditions that were described here pretty closely mimic what was discussed in Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission's meeting. There's an email correspondence note from Eric Beck at the Hamilton County Engineer's Office that alludes to the revocable agreement, and I believe the applicant is going to talk a little bit more about details with the Hamilton County engineers. There's a letter from the Knotty Pine owner, Gary Weddle, in support of the project, and then a letter from the neighboring property owner on Hanley that expresses support for the project, but also a few concerns and items that they wanted to make note of for zoning commission. So I have
one question
Sure.
before we hear. Could you explain this revocable agreement? Before we talk about the details of it, you said the applicant's going to talk details. Tell me roughly what it says, roughly what it does, revocable by whom, on what basis?
Right.
I mean, sort of, make sure I understand what we're
And I do
talking
not have a copy of that, and that would have to be something that would be formalized, but my understanding is the revocable agreement would allow the property owner to have something within the dedicated right-of-way, so whether it would be landscaping or a parking area or something like that, and would note that should there be a need for that right-of-way further down the road, it would be that allowing that to serve in the right-of-way would be revoked. So it's an acknowledgement.
Saying we're okay with what you're doing now, but
Right.
if we need that space, we're going to take it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's all I have.
Does the applicant have a presentation? Would you please state your name and address?
Hi, good evening. I'm Craig Abercrombie with Abercrombie & Associates. I'm at 3377 Compton Road here in Cincinnati. We're the civil engineer, and I also put together the zoning package for Jeff Webler, who's with me here to my left. Jeff's the owner of White Oak Garden Center. We work closely with Ms. Randall, and I'm not going to rehash information she's already shared with you. I was just going to go through the recommendations quick and then let Mr. Webler come up, give some background on his project and business, and then I'm sure there's lots of questions, so we can answer any questions. In terms of the recommendations, item 1, the plan meets 15% open space, and we're more than willing to delineate those areas on the final development plan. Number 2, Mr. Webler, we'll talk more about. We'd like the board to consider possibly allowing the 83 parking spaces, and he can get into the why and operationally why he needs those parking spaces. Number 3, Hermes Drive shall be paved. That's those little at the county meeting, they were a little unclear if we meant it to be paved, and we have the whole time. It's gravel and old asphalt now, but the intent's to pave it. Number 4, Mr. Welber's in agreement on, and we had discussed that with Jeff Mills last year prior to him leaving, and he was fine with a revocable agreement for that landscaping in that corner. And of course, we didn't know he was going to leave, but that's the discussion we had with him. Number 5, the proposed lean-to structure. Again, Mr. Webler can kind of give you some background on that. He feels it'll be a better buffer than the plantings. And there's also a storm sewer and a swale behind it. So pushing that back farther would be difficult to make the lean-to fit. But Jeff can give you some background on that. Number 7, Mr. Webler met with the neighboring property owner to the west yesterday and can also give you some background information on the preferred way to buffer that property line. And finally, number 8, the applicant is in agreement with obviously meeting any requirements of the Hamilton County Engineer's Office. So I'm going to hand it to Mr. Webler, and we'll entertain any questions.
Are you okay with the variances as proposed here?
Yes. Sorry.
Good evening. Jeff Webler, owner of the White Oak Garden Center. I live in Green Township, but operate the business for 35 years now in Colerain Township. 30 years at our current location, and as Ms. Randall stated earlier, we did go through a similar process with the county back in '84 when we built our, at that time, new garden center and took a vacant lot and turned it into something viable that has grown tremendously over the years, and we feel has been an asset to the township and the community. So during that time, we've, because of our growth, have had a number of challenges with the site, as have been noted. It is a tight site, and as our business has grown, there's a strong need to have as many parking places as the site will allow. Typically, our seasonal business, we do a third of our entire year, the month of May. So those parking places are so vital to that time frame that we trying to maximize every space that's possible. So, and I will describe why I feel that we would like to leave the number of parking places in place. And as I continue to move through, but talk about a little bit about the history, I think our track record is fairly strong too with our attractiveness. I mean, the business that we're in is making things attractive. So I believe our sites over the years have demonstrated that, and a 30-year track record is pretty strong. I have 2 sons that are going to be that joined the business now, and hope to be someday running it when I'm retired. I have no plans initially or immediately, but there is a plan. So hence the idea for moving forward with this rather large expansive development has given me the opportunity to say, you know what, I feel we have a viable business that can continue on in this community for a long, long time. However, the way it's currently set up, it cannot. It's not sustainable in terms of the facility and the growth that we're incurring. So my choices were to purchase these contiguous properties as they came available, And we've done so, taking them down as quickly as we could. And I feel that the improvements that we've done on the sites that we've done have demonstrated that that is a better site because of the improvements that we've done. So, so moving forward, I feel that our existing landscaping that's already in place, as well as what's proposed, is more than adequately covering the requirements necessary. I realize there's some variance given because of Blue Rock Road, because Hanley Road changed and the county purchased the property with the realignment. You know, we had to give up property and they moved the roads closer to our driveway. And so some of those factors that played into the challenges of our driveway being so close and things like that were really not our doing. But we realized that the improvements to the traffic flow and the pattern is much enhanced with those changes. So we're asking for a variance to remain in all the parking places. And it is noted too that the streetscape along Blue Rock Road that's currently, and with the revocable agreement in place, which we are understanding is in process, but what is required is 1,260 square feet. What is existing and proposed is an additional 4,900 square feet, so almost 4 times. Granted, it's not trees and the required buffering of trees, but once again, I'll say my track record and what it looks like is a pretty nice looking landscape design. That's what we do. On the Hanley Road streetscape, the requirement is for 960 square feet, and we're proposing and showing not 4,400 square feet, so we're increasing that by almost 4.5 times. These are shrub beds, color beds, flowers, seasonal color, things that we do to show how we can enhance people's yards and businesses. So once again, I feel that we more than adequately satisfy any streetscape buffers that and requesting a variance. As far as the private drive on Hermes, we spoke at length with Eric Beck with regards to it is a private lane. There are residences that are here today, as well as that it's a gravel lane that I purchased from the Dangles several years ago with the lot and things like that behind to the westernmost portion of the site. The improvements to Hermes were on a recommendation by Eric Beck in terms of a right-in, right-out only. That was, we would agree to that. However, we realized that that's not necessarily my decision to be made. The county could request it or demand it or whatever, but they really like that right-in, right-out as far as a safe for vehicles, eliminating any left ins and left outs, which causes lots of traffic problems. So I'm not going to address any other
Right out, I'm sorry, the right-in, right-out that you just referred to, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about that south lane. Could you remind me where you're talking about the right-in, right-out? I may have misunderstood. Okay, all right, well, I was, okay.
Yeah,
And how many homes are?
right-in, right-out. I'm sorry?
How many residences are on Hermes?
Currently, excuse me, currently there's 3 homes, and, well, 4 homes, including the one that I own.
Right. So 3.
Yeah, there were additional homes here that have been removed, torn down. behind the knotty pine.
That's not your property there on the other
Correct.
side.
My property line runs along here.
Do you intend to pave all of Hermes or just back to the end of your,
Well, we're proposing back to our end
okay.
of our development. And while I'm up here, I can note, this is an open lot behind the house. And what we're proposing is greenhouse structures here, pole barn storage structure here, accessible to the garden center through this access ramp behind the house. Now, you have to understand the site because there's tremendous challenges with the elevations. It's this sits higher than here.
And the area shown in yellow is going to be those curved greenhouses?
Once again, I believe in your packet, the current houses occupy this space here.
Right. Yeah.
These will be taken down, stored, and eventually put up here.
How tall are they?
They're total of 20 feet 1 inches. 14-foot gutter with a 6-foot high gable bow. Once again, that's in your packet.
Okay.
Next to that is a pole barn structure that, once again, only 14-foot gutters with a 3.5, 12 roof, so 22 feet tall, roughly. I would like to note that there is a 2-story, this is the Schmidhorst's neighboring property. They have a 2-story pole barn in this location that sits much higher elevation than these new structures will. I mentioned the neighbors, the Schmidhorsts. I believe, do they have a copy of the letter? We do. Okay. We've had good discussions over the years. They've been good neighbors. I've been good neighbors. We're on good terms. In terms of how we go about adding additional buffers, we're very much in agreement with whatever he and I can go through. We're talking of some fencing to further screen. We're talking of more trees and things planted up on his property. We sat in his living room and said, if I could put one here, we could screen that out. And so, you know, we're in discussion there. That area of the garden center has probably been in operation that way for over 25 years. So, and once again, the elevation is such that his house and driveway sit up. It's a very steep slope to our property. So adding additional buffers or creating more buffers down low and planting things really aren't going to solve anything. But that's why I've suggested we can plant up in his yard. We can, and he's fine with that. So.
And do you think it's fair to say that with all of the changes that you're proposing, you're not going to adversely affect his quality of life? I mean, you've seen the letter, I take it.
Sure.
So he
Yeah,
talks about machinery and things like that.
Yeah,
You're not going to change anything.
Right. When they moved in, we were here 18 years ago, and so yes, they Saturday mornings the Bobcats fire up and load up cars and things like that, but they're concerned about additional noise and odors and things like that, and I tell them that it's not going to be any more than what we're currently doing. Obviously, our business grows, but it's not like, I think they're more concerned with the lot behind their house in their backyard And as I've described, when I purchased the property from Dangles, it's deeded in that there is no retail activity to take place, anything on that lot behind their home. Once again, if you pulled that up, where the proposed greenhouses and the structure are going to go. That's strictly for growing and storing and facilitating the garden center. It's not any retail activity. No customers. Right.
I think that,
I'm sorry? Machinery would be minimal, but this pole barn storage will have some activity in there, but once again, the drawing that you have in your packet shows that there's only doors to the, I guess that would be the east side, which only opens up, and it's directly behind their big pole barn, and so it's not. And I don't see a lot of activity there. I mean, it's more of a storage to facilitate taking product back down into the garden center as we restock and things like that. So heavy activity, I don't see.
I understand how their lot sits up above, so I think if you can work with them, as you mentioned, to do some landscaping on their property that benefits them. To your point, it doesn't make sense for you to put a lot of buffer down low that they're going to look right over top of. So.
We're very accommodating, so they, as it states in their letter. So.
Okay, good.
So I don't know if there's any other.
One more question.
Yes.
I understand from your presentation, did I understand that even with the 86 parking spaces, you would still meet the landscaping within the parking or not? Not.
Right.
Mrs. Smith, do you have any questions?
I do. Your neighbors talk about the smells and the noise and all it. How are you going to accommodate that? That doesn't go away, does it? The smells, the sound.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to accommodate them with that?
Well, we've already discussed that, and with fencing. Well, first of all, their concern about that was where the big yellow area is on the plan now. There is none of that going to be stored back there. There's no parking on the perimeter. There's no mulch piles going to be dumped there. There's no activity will be seen that's going to be housed in those buildings. That'll only be accessed through the eastern portion of that. So anything in behind it, in and around it, will satisfy them in terms of they don't want any mulch piles and trucks running and things like that. She talked about maintaining the tranquility of their back porch and deck, and I can honestly say I don't see how it's going to impact that because we're not going to be back there. And a site visit would probably be easier to understand. And once again, the elevations are such that it doesn't.
I'll wait to hear from the residents their concerns.
Sure. They would have liked to have been here. They couldn't tonight, but they wanted to verbalize a letter. But I'll answer any of their questions as well. I answer any questions from other neighbors too. So once again, I feel like I've spent probably 20 years developing this idea and this plan and this site. Back in 2007, we had plans to replace our existing greenhouses, and this is before I had purchased any additional contiguous properties. And we changed our minds real quickly as we started saying, you know what, my sons were coming into business. I think this can be viable. We can sustain this, but we're going to need additional parking. We're going to need a new greenhouse structure. And, I know we need to house and clean up some of our looks because, we want to look good. We don't want to have things exposed and out there where it's visible and unattractive. So the greenhouse development is quite an extensive expense. I mean, it's a long-term investment, certainly in the community, and we feel it's going to really enhance not only the look and the flavor of our business, but we do feel that it's a good plan that we've been working on for a long time, and I've taken a lot into consideration, and I understand it's a very complex site, so it's not without challenges.
Now, where is the manure that in the letter that they indicate that they smell from time to time? Where is that in proximity to?
That currently is in this loading area here. He doesn't want any more of that back here. And I said, that's not going to happen. This is all buffered landscaping along the perimeter. And this is a building that only is accessible through here.
Where about does their house sit?
Yeah.
Their house, here's their barn, they're probably like in here.
Okay.
But they can still smell what's there now.
Sure.
But to be clear, you're not changing, you're not moving
That's been
that
there for
area.
25
Right.
years.
You're not moving it, you're not enlarging it, you're not, right.
No, everything is
So
pretty
nothing
much the
changes
same.
there.
Thank you.
Well, and then the lean-to that's proposed on the west half, yes, thank you. I know that's close to the road, and I guess I'm also asking for a variance there. We're trying to work around not planting that, or not locating that over the existing culvert. So we moved it closer to the road to try and fit it in. The reason that I have that is more of a screening purposes. It's extensively landscaped to the perimeter, to the north and the west, but it's plants just aren't going to do it. And the pictures that were shown earlier don't quite show the mess there. And when I say a mess, there's it's an open lot area where bag mulches are stored, empty benches are stored, trucks and a trailer are stored. It's unsightly. I will freely admit, and I am trying to cover that. So the best way to do that is with that's kind of what it looks like. But so if we had a lean-to structure, which is basically an open three-sided roofed structure, it would totally screen in this, the drawings that you have in your packet from Wayne Contractors. It's a nice looking pole building. It's not.
Okay, so you're basically, you're doing this open on one side.
Open to the interior.
The interior, your
Screening it
business.
from Hanley. So, and once again, I understand the variances, or I don't know if that's a variance. I understand how close it is to the roadway. But if you saw the elevations, if you're on Hanley Road and you're traveling either by car or perhaps walking, you would see that what I'm proposing makes sense. Makes sense from the standpoint that we've got ample screening in the front with shrubberies, large evergreens, flowering plants. But the structure, yeah, if you go back.
Yeah, so help us understand where it would be in this picture.
Go back to that one underneath this. Yes. This right here.
Right, no, I'm with you there, but on the photograph, I just want to get a visualize. So what would we see if that lean-to, or if that structure was there?
You would be looking at the gable end,
Okay,
and it runs east to west along the curve and Hanley.
okay. And then open to the interior of your,
Yes. So it would be completely enclosed from the roadway, and as, once again, the design of that structure is such that it's got eaves and overhangs, it's got a, what do you call it, it's a half boards that come up, and then it's a panel, so it's not just a cheap pole structure, although it kind of is, but it's a little more decorative
it's the
looking,
deluxe model.
to fit in within the neighborhood, so I'm,
I have another question that I saw in a resident's letter. Maybe you can explain to me, what does it mean when it says no customer walking on property? I mean, I know what that means, but what does it mean in perspective to your project?
I'm sorry, I didn't know if I heard.
A letter from Ken and Claire.
Yes. Once
And then-
again, the area behind their building where we're proposing the new pole barn and greenhouse structures, there is no retail activity going to happen up there.
So you're not talking about the residents, you're talking about potential customers.
There will be no retail people on that property.
Just your employees would be operating,
Correct.
not customers would be up in the
Well,
front.
and I would say that everything's going to be in those structures on that piece of property. And they're going to be, so yeah, I guess we'll maintain the plantings and the lawn and the weeds and things, but in terms of activity, it'd be,
No reason for a customer to go back.
it won't be allowed up there.
Okay.
It's stated in the deed of the property that when I purchased it, that there will be no retail activity, so.
Staff agrees with that deed.
Is that?
Deed restriction, but that was my understanding that existed, yeah.
Even if that wasn't the case, based on your plans, I agree with you, there's no reason for a customer to be back there.
They're gonna be lost, I don't know what, there's,
The proposal clearly spelled out that those were to be non-commercial, so that's overflow, nursery stock that would be, growing and living back there.
As I read the neighbor's letter, they were concerned about the long run. I think they'd say, yeah, I understand all that stuff, but
right,
the point is a deed restriction, if tomorrow morning, somebody gave you a lot of money for your land and said, I'm gonna turn it into a steel mill, something.
Right.
That deed restriction would still forbid customers from that sector of the plot, no matter what we do here with zoning.
thank you. Because that's what I told them, that's also what, this whole development plan is a planned business district, so if I go away and some other use happens, or wants to happen, they're gonna be before the board explaining,
We'd probably make a
Themselves.
stance on a steel.
I would think that'd be an interesting case. Do you know how many parking places you have today?
it's rather vague, because we squeeze them in wherever we can get them, but in the front,
Is it 50? Is it,
it's probably 60-ish.
okay. And this plan had, I think, 83 total, is that?
86,
Okay, it's 83.
Yeah.
83.
That whole area on Hermes that's not, and I had a picture of it, but I don't think I have it in a slide. As you know, it's all unpaved today, and so the parking is haphazard all down through there. So you can't really count the spaces on that area currently, but this would clean it up quite a
There's
bit.
about 45 to 48 straight
Right,
spaces.
okay. And then people park along Hermes sometimes, and
Mr. Lott, do you have any questions?
I guessed them all.
Okay. Mr. Taylor, do you have any more?
Oh, I might, but not right now.
Mr. Ferry, do you have any?
Your evidence has been in a lot of ways on this, but on your green space, you said you were increasing like one area over 4,000 square feet or whatever. Is that all on the property, or are you using some of the right of way of the road?
It's both.
It's both.
It's both
We've never-
proposed and what's already in place. There's a lot of existing beds already in place, and we're just enhancing that. And some of the enhancement is on our buffering area in our property.
Like on Blue Rock Road and where you have the big chair and stuff out there now? Is that in the right of way of the road, or is that?
That's in the right of way.
Probably in the future right away after it's dedicated.
Yeah, actually,
The plan that shows a 60-foot right of way and it comes over
well,
really close to the park.
And we have to dedicate another 10 feet as part of the approval process. So it's probably right on the line of the existing right of way.
The 60 feet is what's there now, or you're gonna add another 10 feet that you say?
And that's a requirement by the county engineer's
If
office.
you add another 10 to that, you're gonna be real close to the existing parking.
Correct.
Yeah, but that would be dependent on the engineer saying, get off my land.
Correct.
I want to increase the road.
Right.
and the other thing is that currently is Zone B, or business. So the setbacks aren't as far where that property currently is. Well, and that's why we're proposing a plan change, so that we'll get it all conformed, the whole piece, parcel. During the November presentation before the board, that was called a
Informal concept.
informal plan review. I described how this is a master plan, and the greenhouse portion is what's driving this whole the whole idea here. So we're trying to think as forward as we can, as long range as we can, and presenting the board, the commission, what we would like to do and how I see it happening. And so, that's what we're here.
So it's not necessarily your intent to do all of this right now?
Correct.
Okay,
And I can't even begin to tell you how the logistics will
okay.
happen. But as we discussed with Jeff Mills at length, he said, this could be a 10, 12-year build-out for the entire, and I believe that's in the minutes and the notes and things like that we spoke about. But I'm just trying to be out front as I can with what we're trying to do.
When do you plan to start the project?
The earliest that, if everything went well, and there's still several meetings that we need to attend and adhere to, we could be building greenhouses as early as next year about this time. The greenhouses would be on the Blue Rock front part. That is the first primary piece of the development that we'd like to incur. And obviously the largest expense. But I will say that how the whole site will work kind of depends on whether or not we're going to move forward with what we have proposed and planning. Because if we can't do a lot of what we want to do, we might have to rethink our investment and say, is this the right site to do this on, or do we look elsewhere? So, and it's a good question, because we're going to be investing a lot of money over a long period of time. So, and I want to be here. So,
You've been here for quite a while.
Okay, are we done with questions, or do you have some more, Mr. Ferry? Okay.
So just one more back on the parking. So the current plan, 83 spaces, exceeds what you can do unless you landscape the parking area such that 20% of it is landscaped. Can you guys get to that 20% within the parking area or not?
if we had to remove parking places for landscaping, no.
But yet you've got way more landscaping and buffering in other places than what you need.
Right.
Fair statement, right? Okay, thank you.
Okay, is everybody done with their questions? Okay, next we're going to move on to the public comment section of this hearing. We have everybody who wanted to speak signed up. We will go in the order that they're on this sign-up sheet. Please remember, 5 minutes, no redundancy, and the chair will state your name and address. The chair will entertain a motion to open the public comment.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we open the public comment portion of this hearing. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. First person on the list is Alma Hermes. Yes, please. We want it to be recorded.
Yes, I'm Alma Hermes, and I live at 3643 Hermes Drive. This is my daughter, Nikki. She sometimes stays with me when I have health issues. My complaint about this whole situation is, for one thing, cars were parking where you come in, down by the Naughty Pine Bar on this side, on Hermes Drive, and the fire department came out and checked it and measured how far I was to the fire hydrant across on Cheviot Road. And they said that there should be no parking down there because it would make it difficult for them to get back in case I had a fire or something, because they have to drop 1,000 feet of hose that's by 5 inches in diameter, I suppose, and connect it to the fire hydrant across Cheviot Road. So that was one of the issues, that those vehicles should not be parking there, regardless, he said, of who owns it. But another issue is that Jeff said that he intends to put his old greenhouses on this property that's directly in front of my house. And,
Her house is here.
yeah,
Oh, you're on the south side of Hermes.
I have some pictures showing his property and my property where my driveway ends, and it runs right into the roadway where Hermes Drive is. And you can also see Ken and Claire's house right straight across from me.
I mean, I live on a long lane. They got their little signs up about where the hoses and all that stuff.
With the plans, there's no intent to stripe any parking on Hermes, correct?
Well, perhaps after pavement, so designate what's what.
But as the plans sit here, you don't propose parking spots, striped spots on Hermes after you pave it.
That's what we're showing.
You are showing.
Right here.
Oh, right there.
Right here.
No, well,
All right.
well, it's also,
But as they're shown, they shouldn't impede traffic.
no, and that's the thing, the gravel lane now is much more narrow than what is proposed or shown.
I mean.
And they said the fire trucks are going to be even wider. They're getting new ones, so that would create an even greater problem.
No, wouldn't it? It seems to me the problem you've got, what you described, is sort of casual parking, right? Where people come and just drop anchor on that.
Yeah, it's been like customers for the garden center and customers for the Naughty Pine Bar, I believe, yeah.
But it's casual parking. They just kind of come in there and drop anchor, right?
Yeah, they stay for, like, all day long.
What,
Casual,
I
yeah.
understand.
Customers from
As opposed to-
places, yeah.
I understand your concern.
But what I'm trying to think through is, the asphalt will be wider than the gravel lane already. And what you're proposing puts people vertically off of that wider space, right? In other words, if I look down there, I can't have people just casually parking there anymore because I now do have designated spaces that back in and out onto that asphalt, is that right?
Curb.
Asphalt and curb, yeah.
And there have been 2 accidents there, one reported recently, where the police department came back and asked, looking for a particular colored vehicle. And then the gentleman, Steve, who lives next door to my mother, his daughter was hit as she backed out because there was a customer for the nursery or the Naughty Pine Bar that was in this area here that was coming out and backing up, and she had to back out. There was no room for her to go, so she backed out in traffic and was hit back here.
I think what my colleague and I, at least I think we're on the same page. What we're trying to say is we think this plan is better than the current situation and would help alleviate that. Because it's going to be a paved, so today people are just coming in and they're parking along the side of the gravel where they shouldn't be. With it being paved and curved and having specific striped spots, not to say someone wouldn't still park along the side, but it would be much more obvious that they shouldn't.
Well, there's signs posted there now that says no parking, your car will be towed, and they still park, and that indicates in her photo as well.
So the fire department did review these plans as well, and they didn't have any concerns over the width of the lane.
He told me he was gonna dig into the county deeds and see who owned that property because he didn't think it was legal for people to be parking up there.
No, it's a private drive, they shouldn't be parking there.
No.
Yeah, may I add, for my mother's sake, that the water lines are right here that go back, and everybody is parking on the water meters and everything else in her lines, and it's not a structured area.
Okay, let's move on. Do you have any other concerns?
Just the traffic light, that's gonna present a problem, but
We can't do anything about
the
that.
greenhouses that are, the old greenhouses, I have an objection to that. I don't know if it'll do me any good or not, but I don't particularly want to have them right in front of my house.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the list is Sampson Webster.
Yes, I'd like to thank you for your time. I live at 3528 Blue Rock Road, which is near the intersection where the traffic light is at and all that takes place. And this is my mother that spoke earlier. And I am there quite frequently, being that I live across the street from her. I live so close that I'm there just about every day with her. And I can contest, I confirm that there is a problem with the current lane and the parking that she had addressed. But I know for a fact that this gentleman's a good guy, and he's trying to do something for his business, and I understand that, and I commend him for that. But I think he should also consider the impact it's going to have on the quality of life of someone who's been there since 1988 when they built their house. They picked that because it's a private lane, and her family name, Hermes, is Hermes Lane. Her ex-husband's family owned that, and they sold it to the Dangles when Uncle Bernie and Aunt Dot died. Prior to that, there was a corral there. They had a horse in there at one time, and it was very nice. You sit on the front porch, you'd see the horse and open field and stuff like that in the house. But now what they intend to do with the greenhouse and everything like that, and right now they even put some kind of stoneware out there for retail. And it's not a terrible thing, but it's just not pleasing to the eye, scenic view-wise. And I think for resale value, it's going to have a negative impact on the residents in that area, myself included. I don't think this is a positive thing, but I don't find him to be a bad person. Don't get me wrong, I'm not attacking him or anything. I understand where he's motivated from. his business is expanding. But I just wish that something could be done about this as a compromise that would both be beneficial to both parties. That's pretty much it. My mother covered just about everything.
Thank you. Next on the list is Nikki Davis. You look familiar.
I'm by my mother's side every step of the way, no matter what. Thank you for your time. And I do appreciate, Jeff's plan. And I know that he has done this his life. This is his trade. I get that. I understand that. And I have a great appreciation for greenery. The only thing that really bothers our family is that when literally, I'll give you a visual. If you've never been down that lane, it's a gravel lane. And literally, like where I am standing, from me to you, I would be standing on my mother's porch. You would be on Jeff's property, literally. Pretty much, this looks like the width of the gravel road. It is only big enough for one vehicle at a time. If one vehicle is leaving, going out to work, and one is coming in, somebody has to back up because there's nowhere to turn around unless you pull in our drive or his drive or on the grass. So from where I'm at, I could throw a rock and it would land on Jeff's property. From our property to Jeff's property. This is the distance of the road. There's no way for two cars to go at the same time. And we did get to briefly talk with him for a little, like maybe 10 minutes before we came to the meeting, and he was trying to help us understand. But it's kind of sketchy when we have a very small blueprint, and he has a great big one. It's kind of hard for us to see and understand. So we were worried about the parking spaces, car alarms going off from the employees, which is right by my mother's house. Right now, if you look in the pictures, you can see the dug up dirt, the bales of hay. That's from overflow from his nursery right now. And I understand he's trying to expand his business, and I appreciate that. He's been working hard over these years, and he needs more space, but he also has many properties. My mother has one, and when she's sitting on her porch, and she worked so hard her whole entire life to build this house from the ground up. She picked out every tile, every faucet, everything, every piece of wood that is in that home since 1988, and built it. We carried gravel's a bucket. So she put, when you say sweat and tears, it's there. And she's lived there for nearly 30 years now. And she loved it and appreciated the nature and the greenery. And the current greenhouses that are proposed to go there, they're 20 feet high. And yes, he did say he would put shrubs in front of it, but shrubs are small. He said they can grow to be like 6 to 8 feet. But that doesn't cover a 20 feet high greenhouse. And they're plastic looped greenhouses. So it actually looks like 4 domes going across. That's what she would have to look at every day on the porch. And that bothers her. And it concerns her of them coming and going, because he said all of the big trees that are currently there, he said those are going to be removed. So that means bulldozers, that means construction, that means digging and hearing beep, beep, beep every morning when you're getting out of the bed, late at night, the lights blaring. If the employees are all parking in their designated, I understand you said striped area, people from the bar, they always look for additional parking. The bar owner, he just recently expanded his area, put in a volleyball court and additional parking, and he still doesn't have enough space. So it's just common for them to try to search, and if they see a slotted, paved road, they're thinking, great, here's more parking. So that really concerns her. And
Are there no parking signs now?
yeah, there's no parking signs up, and you'd see that in the photos. I think there's a sticky note next to it but they're kind of backwards the way that we took the photos. It just shows the little white signs that go, but they still park there. And when the fire department came, there was 8 of them that came from, the fire department that would have to come to this lane because we were concerned about her health, you know? With it being such a narrow road, it's like as big from me to you. You know, it's, if you put a compact car on it, there's no room to go around or anything.
But to be clear, at least as, let me check this. To be clear, the paved asphalt, I assume, road will be 24 feet wide. Is that correct?
How is that possible? He said there would be no changes. I asked him before we came
I'm
to the
just
meeting.
looking at the blueprint. The blueprint says 24 feet, which is, staff, that's more than enough room for two cars to pass each other. And if you look, that's the right in, right out, ingress and egress, and so you could have a car coming in and a car going out, as I read this print. Is that correct? I got a big picture here.
He said that nothing would be done, and my mom was concerned about the water lines and the electrical lines,
when-
the digging.
When
The
do
gas
you
lines.
plan to do the paving of the Hermes?
I don't know.
Sooner, later?
I don't know how it logistically all will work out.
Okay. But the point is, it's no longer a 10-foot gravel, it's a 24-foot wide, clearly enough for two cars to pass.
To the end of his property.
To the end of his
Not-
property.
not up
which
where
is
your mother
not-
is.
Not exactly to yours, but pretty close, as I read this.
She's saying that's not possible. How would that, I mean, if it's only 9 feet right now from here to you, where would they, if he said, he told us before the meeting, there would be no digging in the grass, no, you know, no changing the roadway at all, correct? That's what you said before the meeting, right? Correct? You said there would be no alteration of the roadway and the grass? Well, the
Not in front of
roadway,
your place, yeah, okay.
but the roadway is directly in front of your
But
place.
as I look at this, can you come up here from, show me how far you're saying you're gonna extend the 24 foot.
Can I show you on the?
Yeah, that's what everyone can see.
Put the site plan up.
Site plan, you want this?
Site plan.
Yeah, I'm looking at the site plan here. Yeah, there. So,
Roadway improvements would be to this point.
to that point, okay.
So
The driveway is here now.
So it's about, what, 30 feet maybe?
Yeah,
Uh,
30, 50 feet.
Probably 40.
Okay.
But I guess probably what would be helpful, and it's not on this drawing, but the actual property line is right here at the curb.
So
And
that's,
this continues on down, and it actually, where her end of her driveway is, how should I say, it's not their property. It's on part of the private drive lane.
okay,
But they have, Craig, what would you guess? Maybe 10, 15 feet? There's a peg near your drive, I think, when Gary had his back lot surveyed. Do you remember what I'm,
His peg is over to the side of my house, way over there by the woods.
over here, somewhere?
Yeah.
It's in a wooded area, not by the driveway.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to explain to everybody so it's clear is that the property line runs down here and is somewhere in here, and then it continues across. So what, I don't want to say it's not your property, but it's part of the private lane that just, the driveway was built to meet where the gravel lane was.
So are you proposing to tear into her yard and her driveway?
I'm
Because you're
proposing.
saying that it's not her property.
No,
because she has
here's what I am
maintenance.
saying. This dotted line represents the current gravel lane. We're not gonna touch that. That remains just as it is.
Then how will you widen it?
From that point up.
from that point.
I'm only
out-
gonna be working from this point forward.
And that's where it'll be 20 from that point out to Blue Rock, you end up with two little lanes at the end there, but it's
Right.
24 feet of paved asphalt from Blue Rock to where you were indicating with your pencil, correct?
So you're not paving all the way down by Steve's and
To this point.
Aaron's, right? You're only
That's-
paving,
Yeah,
Back
To this point.
and then the rest of it will be gravel.
that's my driveway down there.
Right, so it'll be
Where
just like
that
it
little
is
wheel is.
today.
Don't you think that's kind of unsightly? You know, like half pavement, half gravel? Is it?
It's what you have now. I don't know what,
No, now it's all gravel. It all
Yeah.
looks the same.
and
What you
we're
have now is
proposing
unsightly.
improvements. So
I mean, you see the photos.
Well, but what you've got now also gives you one car
Right.
access, and with people parking, even less. So,
Right.
I mean, I just read it, some of the things that have been a problem for you get solved by this, but not everything.
Well, she's worried about the quality of health. She's highly allergic, anaphylaxis, you know,
Yes.
when it comes to bees and wasps and, you know, greenery and adding additional things like that, attract things like that. So that's one concern. The smell of manure with mulch, that's another concern. The heavy equipment, machinery, which has to be there because he said all of those big trees are gonna be eliminated. So you can't do that without heavy machinery
Well,
coming there.
That's a short term.
You know.
During
Yeah,
construction.
temporary.
But how long would it take for the project to be? I mean, I'm just trying to, I'm not, you know, condemning anybody's ideas or saying that they're bad ideas. I'm trying to understand it so that I can help my family understand it. Because if I'm ignorant about it and we're all ignorant about it, then we have no clue. And we're visual and auditory learners. And today, I walked on the grass with him. I said, give me an idea, Jeff. True? I said, show me. How many greenhouses? I said, I'm visual and I'm auditory, show me. Will there be 4 here? Will there be 2 here? He said, 2. I said, but one of them is 4 big domes covered in yellowish, dirty plastic because they've been outside, so they're weathered. They're not pretty greenhouses. They're 20 feet high and they have a yellowish, brownish coloring, you know, and that's what is going to be in front. And he said, well, I'm planning on putting shrubs in front, and they can grow to be 6 or even 8 feet high. But that's not covering a 20-foot high set of plastic greenery, you know, that she will have to look at, and that upsets her. And I told her, just voice your concerns, and who knows, maybe something can be done about it.
What do you think the solution would be?
We're at 12 minutes.
Maybe.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well,
We're at 12
been
minutes.
interacting.
We know we took some of your time.
Photos.
Yeah, they're right here.
Do you still
Yeah.
wish to look at them? I can just get them at the end of the
No, I think we've all
You see it?
taken a peek.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think to try to answer some of what you said though,
Can I have a moment? I'm holding it, excuse me, I'm holding in my hand here a letter from Mark Walsh, a captain from the Colerain Township Fire Department, that says the Colerain Fire Department does not have any issues with the expansion, development of White Oak Garden Center project.
I would think generally they would, for what they care about, which is laying hose, it's a heck of a lot easier to do with 24 feet of
Right.
asphalt.
If I may, Mr. Westphal, they're not the ones, 8 of them came, and the ones that
But
came.
he's the
He was
guy.
not there. I know, but he didn't visually assess it like the others did, the ones that visually.
I'm sure
he
that he's been out there
did. He
many
didn't at
times.
that time, but he went out there and took a look at it himself.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
He did.
You can feel free to ask him if you want to, but I'm sure he did.
They told us they couldn't hardly turn in.
Well,
that it was-
now they probably can't.
Well, if it was a right turn only and right turn in.
And they're
Okay, this is out of control, cool it. I'm getting tired of this, it's totally out of control. Yeah. Well, it's out of control. Everybody's talking at once.
We understand your concern.
We understand your concerns. Please, believe me, we do. What are you laughing about? Do you think I don't understand your concerns?
Me?
No, her. Okay. The chair would entertain a motion to close the public comment.
So moved.
I have my name on there too. I'd like to speak on this.
I think I reminded you if you spoke before.
I'm not allowed to speak now. I just got some questions to ask. nothing to interfere with the meeting.
Okay, 5 minutes.
I'm not going to take 5 minutes. I'll state Jim Acton. I live here in Colerain Township. The gentleman mentioned fencing quite a bit. Where is this fencing going to be at on the property? And what type fencing?
Whatever our neighbor to my west and I agree on.
So it could be chain link, could be
No,
wood.
no, he's proposing a board fence.
Okay, good. They're concerned about Hermes Drive there. Has anybody approached the cafe there about blocking that parking area off so that they can't go onto Hermes Drive? You go down the road, you've got these here dividers that you can put up, curb dividers, if you want to call them. You'll find them in Kroger's parking lot all over the place. Would that not prevent him from cars parking there? But he's saying that there's cars, that's going to be striped off there so cars can park there on Hermes?
Not on Hermes.
Not on Hermes.
He's building parking, the plans show parking, striped parking off of Hermes. Off of the newly widened paved.
On the south side or the north side?
Both.
Some on, you see some on the north to the left there.
I thought Naughty Pine owned that property on the south side.
No, Marty's on the south.
Yeah.
They don't own any of the property where Hermes is. Do they? Okay.
Correct, okay.
Oh,
And my suggestion for these young people, get the police out there. We've got 12 cars parked out here right now. I've always asked, where are they at? This year, they've been on my street once. Call them and tell them, come down here and check that out.
Thank you.
absolutely. If they're parking on a private drive, call them, have them haul them away. You can do that. Okay, now the chair would entertain a motion to close the public comment
So moved.
section. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we close the public comment section. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. I'd like to propose a 5-minute recess if we could. On order, please. Now's the time for a discussion between all the members of the commission. Mrs. Smith, would you like to say anything?
Not at this moment.
Okay. Mr. Lau?
I have several
Okay.
points to make. I'm not in love with the additional parking spaces and so on. I take your point on the seasonality of your business. So I'm okay with it. I would like, it's nothing I can write as a condition for a zoning approval. But I would like some creative thought, perhaps in consultation with the police department, about those parking along Hermes. I don't know what the answer is over the course of the year. I don't know what it looks like on Saturday night with the Naughty Pine Bar and things like that. I mean, obviously, all of you live there, not me. Is there ways, and I'll make this up, don't take this as Rich Schlaup's answer to everything, but chain off those parking spaces on Hermes when you're not in operation. Or something, no parking signs and then, enforced. I think if you have some consultations with the police department and the neighbors, there ought to be a way to do it. So I'm sympathetic to your need for the spaces because of the seasonality of your business. On the other hand, if the 11 months of the year you don't need them, now I've got more people parking there when I don't want them. I think the fire issue is actually much improved by your plan of a 24-foot asphalt. And I think the traffic patterns where you can pass, and you have the actual 2 separate lanes in your little island there for the right in, right out is an improvement. So I think that part's okay. The lean-to and the 3 feet or something like that, I mean, I take your point about the crowdedness of it and sewer lines and swales and what have you, I guess I can live with the too small a space up in that northwest corner for the lean-to, because I think visually the lean-to will be a big improvement over what you've got now. It looks, I mean, it's okay, yeah, it'll be plain, but it looks better than sort of the active piles you've got there now and things like that. It'll manage it and make it look like better. So I'd be willing to live with that. As for issues of things like views and construction, well, that's not something that zoning can deal with. I mean, somebody has the right to construct on their property for a limited period of time. We have the regular rules about construction, about keeping it swept. We have, where there's traffic in and out. So there's things that the township has put in place to manage that. God knows we've been through that before. In fact, it was on Blue Rock Road somewhere. Remember that? The time it was a nightmare, but it gets to be, if somebody's not doing what they need to do to minimize the effects of construction, that's something the township can deal with just as part of its normal police powers. The view is, I mean, you said it, I think, yourself. Sorry, somebody else gets to use their property if it's a legitimate use. And I look out on a horse pasture too, but I can't stop my neighbor from building a barn out there. It's just private property in America. So those are I guess I come down on the side that I'm all right with the variance on the lean-to. If staff and the applicant come up with some creative way to engineer around it, great, but otherwise I'd say the lean-to's an improvement, let's take it. And I think that the Hermes Drive will be a major improvement, maybe not solve everything, it'll be a major improvement. I would like us to find some way to manage those parking if you don't need them. I mean, I can't believe you need them in January and February. Well, then what do we do to say there's a big tough mean chain there with posts 10 feet into the ground on either end and nobody can park there? Something like that. Those are the things.
Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, I echo Mr. Louth's comments. I think having heard, what everyone had to say, I would probably lean towards approving this as staff recommended with the existing conditions and the existing variances. Other than, I think I'd be okay with the lean-to as well. I think it's a better solution than having everything sit there in the open. And I think I'm okay with the additional parking as well, even though it exceeds the zoning limit. And I don't think that we have to enforce the 20% landscape requirements in the parking area, in my opinion.
Mr. Ferry?
I'm good with most of it. There's a couple of issues, I think, that have been brought up. One on the sidewalks. We've looked as far as sidewalks on areas like that. News that we can't come through there. Not real thrilled about parking, but seems like you heard the parking.
That's a good question. That's a good question to raise on sidewalks. I mean, obviously, you'd be building a sidewalk in the right of way. I mean,
they're always in the right of way.
Well, I mean, this one's the right of way where they say there's going to be cars coming someday.
No, but I mean, like this 10 feet up front between the parking, that's always where your sidewalk is. It's not on your property, it's in the right of way of the road. I mean, we've just required, on other things that don't do. I'm just mentioning.
We've at least required payment in the
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Staff, I'm sorry, Ms. Randall, could you discuss payment in lieu of sidewalks with the applicant? Have you, if you haven't?
I have not, no, I have not discussed that. We can include that as part of our further discussions as we refine the plan per the conditions here. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, my only other concerns are, you know, we have another applicant pretty much down the road come in and say, well, you let this guy put 83 spots in, we're gonna be right back in the same boat.
You know, I guess I view every one of these as a judgment call on the commission's part, and, you know, we're always trying to broker the needs of the township, the needs of the neighbors, and the needs of the applicant, and do the best we can on it, so. I'll live to fight another day, that with the next applicant, I may say no on a parking space.
Well,
You can say, but you said.
To me, what's different with this parking, even though it exceeds the requirements, it's spread out all around the property. It's not one big giant parking lot that looks like.
Well, when they redid Hanley Road, I guess they took part of that here. When they realigned Hanley and all that, they lost. The ground on that end. Because these were all existing that you're showing here now.
Well, they're existing when I removed and purchased buildings along the front of Blue Rock.
Right.
And I will say too that the sidewalks are proposed 6-foot sidewalks in front of Blue Rock Road.
Okay.
As part of the Hamilton County engineers' new curbs and
All right,
lanes.
so they are
And
proposing.
the north fork of Blue Rock moving behind the service station and realignment of the traffic signal in front of Bad Mike's and Dottie Pine Bar. So that's already shown or taken into consideration with this plan.
Forgot about that.
I got one additional comment. I think it's a good project, but I would really like to see you work, if you could, with the concerns that they've expressed tonight. I don't know the solution to it or how, but I really wish you could work with them.
Now, and I apologize to them, we were not able to hook up prior to the meeting. I missed a call, and so, yeah, I had wanted to explain it and answer questions in detail, and I plan to do that further.
I mean, I think the story of the 20, I mean, I think when you visualize that 20, I mean, we're all trying to do it from blueprints and stuff like that. I mean, when I was out there looking, the 24-foot, that's got to help some of this, but it may not be completely clear unless you're standing there.
Anyone else? The only thing I would like to say before we have the vote is that I think it's a good project. And first, I'd like to apologize for losing my temper. And secondly, I think it is a good project. And the 24-foot is what we require in parking lots. So 24-foot should be plenty wide enough, I would think. Before we have the vote on this, I would just like to bring forth the fact that we, on this commission, try to do what's the best for both the applicant, who is normally a business, and the neighbors that it affects. And I know sometimes people don't think we do that, but we do. And we want to see Colerain Township grow, and we want to see everybody that lives here happy. But sometimes that's a little difficult to do. But in the long run, that's what we do. And I hope that everybody in the room believes that. Okay. Since nobody has any more questions, the chair would entertain a motion to accept the case number ZA 2015-03 White Oak Garden Center as stated in the okay, I'm sorry, you're right. I would ask for the motion.
You punto.
Let's see if I can make a motion. Make a motion to approve, good enough for me.
Per the staff recommendations with 2 changes. Number one, the applicant is permitted to have 80, how many? 83 parking spaces without the 20% landscaping requirement. And that the variance is granted for the lean-to the 10 feet.
So said another way, the staff conditions just eliminate number 2 and number 5. Would accomplish that.
Maybe an easier way to do it.
If you want to, if you want to reword your motion, just eliminate those.
Let me double check that.
Yep.
Does staff agree that eliminating those
Two
two
and five would
accomplishes
do.
what we're trying to accomplish?
Yes, yes, that would work.
Then I move we approve with the, per the staff report with the exception of items, conditions 2 and 5.
And leave all the variances in.
Yeah, variances were.
I would like to amend your proposal to add a 7th condition, that there at least be some discussion about payment in lieu of the sidewalk fund, not on the entire property, but on the new additions.
May I comment?
Yes.
The site plan does show a sidewalk to be constructed along Blue Rock.
But the Hanley piece,
Oh, you mean this big thing that says sidewalk detail? In big letters here?
Yikes. Okay.
All right.
So are we covered everywhere now?
eliminate 2 and 5 and add a 7th one about payment in lieu of sidewalk.
Okay. First, we have to vote on the amendment to the motion. Okay.
Do we need the sidewalk amendment, staff? If it's shown on the plan?
So we've got it on Blue Rock, and
That's
they're doing it on Hanley, right? The state's doing it on Hanley.
Oh, they are?
Also on the landscape plan. Okay, I apologize. It wasn't on the site plan, it's on the landscape plan, but that is the county's. It's on our plan to install that.
What about Hanley?
And they're doing it on Hanley too, aren't they?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I
I'm
have not.
surprised if we would.
Okay.
Would it be easier if I talked to the microphone?
When I met with Eric Beck at the county engineer's office yesterday, I did ask him what the timing would be on the project, and he did not have a firm answer. He didn't have an answer. So I did try to get that answer for you. I haven't seen those plans, so I'm not sure. I would imagine it wraps around the Hanley intersection.
I would be surprised if it went very far.
Correct. I agree with you.
Yeah, just around the corner.
Right. And one other, this is very minor, on the, where we show the lean-to, we show 7 feet from the existing right-of-way. He wants a 10-foot right-of-way dedication there, so that lean-to would really be 10 feet off instead of 7. Just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. I'm supposed,
Okay.
So do we need the sidewalk?
do we need number 7 for the sidewalk?
I think until we clarify, perhaps add it where necessary or where needed. Yeah.
Okay. So we have to vote on that first. Okay, there's an amendment to the motion, number 7, to have staff research and stay in touch with the applicant for payment in lieu of sidewalk. Now, can we have a roll call on that, please? Oh, the motion's made, do we have a second?
The amendment.
No, on your
On the
amendment to the
I'll
motion.
second his amendment.
Okay, now can we have a roll call vote?
1 second, let me write that down. Please.
Oh, you're the scribe, huh? Well, good luck.
I apologize. Can I mention one thing for you?
Can?
I believe under the variance on number 3, that contradicts the condition for number 7. The 10-foot buffer.
I'm not
Because
understanding.
Mr. Webler had met with the neighboring property owner to the west, that he would put the additional landscape buffering on their property. So that slightly contradicts variance 3.
I hear what you're saying, but I thought I also heard you guys say that you'd still maintain kind of the existing 10-foot buffer that's there now.
There's less than 10 there now. There is.
What exists?
Like back where the bins are. We could, I don't mean to muddy things up, but
Do you know what that distance is now?
Once again, because of the elevations, it kind of varies.
Will there be some type of landscape buffer along there?
Well, there is existing trees, and that's where the neighbor and I are talking about the constructing a fence.
Okay.
And we would share the cost.
So I guess we probably ought to think about a third variance.
Could it be continued upon an agreeable plan?
yeah.
We would not want an amendment saying subject to an agreed plan with somebody. That's not, to me, that's not a proper zoning.
Well, I guess to further that, we work a plan that's agreeable?
To the township. Yeah,
Or the staff?
yeah, that's what I mean.
Staff.
The way that was written was under the impression that the 10 feet would allow what's there to exist. So my preference would be to make the buffer to allow what's to exist. So in terms of the placement of their structure that's there now. So I don't know if that comes back to a zero buffer, or if it's a 5, or what that
Yeah, there's a
exactly would be.
piece in there where he doesn't have 10 right now. That would be allowed to remain in place.
Okay, but the site shall be permitted
I think we just removed
the existing buffer limit where a 30-foot is required. So existing rather than 10 foot, right?
Correct.
So, no, but that will have to be an additional amendment to my motion. Right?
Right.
So we're out of order here on that.
Right, first we had a
We have to
motion
vote
that's
on
on the
that
floor.
motion. Then we need an additional amendment to my motion to change the reason of variance 3.
Okay.
You want, go ahead, Jim.
Let's just trash the amendment and trash.
Withdraw is the word.
Let's withdraw the amendment and withdraw your original proposal and restate your proposal with,
With both of them.
I think it'll be cleaner that way.
Is this a test? All right.
Can we do that?
Okay, we're starting with the
Restate,
Let's do
motion,
it.
new motion,
We're
restate.
withdrawing the
Restate.
original motion and its amendment.
and the amendment.
Recommend approval with conditions and variances as reported by staff with the following changes. Condition 2 and condition 5 are eliminated. Condition 3 is reworded that the site shall be permitted the current buffer space where a 30-foot boundary buffer is required.
Variance 3.
Yeah.
Variance 3.
Variance 3.
Okay.
And what about anything in lieu of?
Oh, yeah, and condition 7, that staff and applicant work out the details of sidewalks or pavement in lieu.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept.
Got all that? You agree?
She's still wrong.
That's why I wanted to check.
Have you got it? Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we accept case number ZA 2015-03, White Oak Garden Center, as recommended by staff, with the elimination of condition 2, condition 5, the addition of the staff continuing to negotiate with the applicant for payment in lieu of the sidewalks, and variance number 3 to be changed from the site shall be printed a 10-foot boundary buffer to the existing boundary buffer. Can we have a vote, please?
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Lauf? Mr. Faring?
Yes.
Chairman Westfall?
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing on case number ZA 2015-04, a text amendment to add language for alternative financial services providers. Does staff have a presentation?
Sorry, we're having technical.
I know. You guys messed up.
Apologize, we're having technical difficulties again.
Hey, you use that for long.
That's my baby. I can go through this one without the without the PowerPoint. Last month we discussed initiating a text amendment to add additional restrictive language into the zoning resolution to address alternative financial service providers. That language that was proposed and that you have in your packets was carried forward to Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission for their review. They had a lot of concerns with that language that was detailed in their staff report. We also, too, share those concerns and would like additional time to do research and inventory the existing businesses that would fall under these restrictions, and to also look at what other communities are doing. So at this time, staff is recommending that the public hearing on this be continued. And initially, our thought was to continue it till the September meeting. However, I don't have any other open cases for the September meeting. So if you would like to continue it through until the October 20th meeting, that would still allow for an action on the text amendment at that meeting to go forward to the trustees at the November 10th Board of Trustees meeting, which is when the extension on the moratorium is set to expire. They did extend the moratorium until November 10th. So if you would like to do that, that would be. You would like to bring it back in September.
Yes, I mean, that's the only thing on the agenda, that's the only thing on the agenda.
Okay.
You know, look, this isn't gonna get any easier, it's just a matter of bringing, I mean, already,
You need more than 30 days. Do you?
Staff is staking yes.
Okay. You okay with that?
But we must open we need to open a public hearing on this because it was advertised as a public hearing. And then continue the public hearing.
I move that we continue.
Wait, we gotta open the public hearing first.
No.
You can do that.
I move that we open the public hearing.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Do we have to have a roll call on that, or just an aye?
Not sure.
I think it just,
Yeah, go ahead and roll call.
Go ahead and roll call it, please. I'm not
We
sure.
did when we opened the public hearing on the first case.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Lauf? Mr. Faring?
Yes.
Chairman Westfall?
Aye. Okay, now the chair would entertain a motion to continue this till to October the,
let's see, I believe it was the 20th. Sorry, I closed up my book. Yes, until the Tuesday, October 20th
Okay.
would be the
Tuesday,
October meeting date.
2015.
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we continue the public hearing until Tuesday, November the 20th, 2015. I'm sorry, October 20th, 2015. Do we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Ferry?
Yes.
Chairman Westfall?
Aye. Okay, next on the agenda is informal concept review. We don't have one. Next is old business. Do we have any old business? Mr. Randall?
No,
New business, do we have any of that?
no.
Administration, we have the update on the comprehensive plan project.
Just a quick update, nothing formal. Staff met with McBride, Del Cleary, and the consultants on the comprehensive plan project last week and reviewed the work that was done in the public meetings this spring. And the general thought was that a lot of what was heard at the public meetings strongly still reflects what's in the character areas for the 2005 plan, and that the emphasis moving forward should be on creating the land use vision component of that plan. So the consultant team is going to be providing staff with some examples of how that piece of the plan could be rolled in and examples of what other communities are doing. So that will be kind of the direction that we're taking moving forward. And hopefully we will be re-engaging with the zoning commission this fall and moving forward with that piece of it. So that's all I have on
It does not surprise me that hadn't changed very much.
Mhm.
Okay. Next is update on code enforcement activities.
Yes, just another quick update. We have been working hard through the end of this summer, and as you know how much rain we got this summer, we had a lot of tall grass complaints and abatements to get through as a part of that process. Now that hopefully we're on the downhill slide with the tall grass effort, we're going to be having a push on some of the property maintenance issues and sign violation issues in the township here through the fall. So look for that as we're pursuing those efforts, and if you have things that you see as you're out in the community, make sure that you let us know about them, and we can have our code enforcement officer or someone on staff go out and take a look.
Who's responsible for maintenance of the Gateway Corner that we started this meeting with?
I would, yeah, it probably is a combination between property owners and then whoever's in charge of the right-of-way along those highway corridors. I'm not sure what pieces of that are. Yeah.
You know, don't make a big deal out of it, but look into it, and is there somebody we need to at least let know we're paying attention and we've heard this one?
Okay. And the complaints earlier in the meeting, is that the area there at Springdale and Colerain? Is that the intersection? Is that, okay.
I mean, the park gateway. Yeah, the memorial is that.
Okay. They're in front of the Cheddars.
Just find out who's responsible, you know, and even if the mall isn't responsible, it might be worth yapping at. Well, that's our property. Well,
We own it.
Sure.
That we do own.
And $3.7 million to buy that corner.
That's not exactly true, but okay.
Close enough.
Person that dealt with that part?
I don't know. Just, staff, please find out.
Just find out.
Sure.
And chew on somebody.
Okay.
That's not a motion.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Number 10 is announcements. Are there any announcements? I would just like to say thank you to the people in the zoning office. Man, in the last week, there's been a lot of grass come down. And we've seen it on several days on the way home. We've seen where they cut grass. Way to go, keep up the good
Is
work.
that principally foreclosures?
It's mostly empty houses, yeah.
Yeah, vacants and
Yeah,
foreclosed.
vacants and foreclosures.
Are we contracting that out or?
our parks people are doing
Might have something to do with the gateway.
it. That does.
We charge for that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Then why don't we? I mean,
It goes on the tax bill.
Trustees, I guess, but-
You said, well, we're trying to.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought people were trying to.
Okay, the next meeting is Tuesday, September 15, 2015, if we get any cases. And those have to be in pretty soon, don't they?
Yeah, the deadline's already passed, so.
Oh, so we're off in September. Okay, the next meeting is November 20th, October 20th. I guess I want this term of service to get over with fast. It will be October 20th, 2015. Okay? Thank you, Lord. The chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.